So we're good to go. Um, we were a bit back and forth this week about topic because I'm intrigued by the law
Mhm.
aspect and the maritime law and the law of the land, law of the seas. There's a lot of probably a lot of confusion as
Laws.
lots of laws,
Yes.
lots of laws, and also you have this. Have you heard about the life claim?
I mean, I spent 5 or 6 years, maybe 5 hours a day understanding this.
Uh,
Thousands and thousands of hours of research to do with the law.
wow.
Actually applying the law, interacting with agencies or agents, and then building up this wonderful understanding that essentially set me free.
Mm,
And I think that's what everybody on the journey needs to, come to that space where the application of their truth is seen and is no longer a belief. It becomes this wisdom that we carry with us
mm,
as we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We shall
mm,
fear no evil. And that is one of the keys in unlocking yourself, because fear is but an illusion. And this fear can be carried from many things, as the fear of death or the fear of the unknown. And the unknown would lead one to the space where they feel like there is a power or a force that holds them in a space without them being free. So to free oneself, they must be free from the illusion of this oppressor. And that is where we are coming to today, is the world and the earth.
mm,
And these two very separate beings, entities, whatever you wish to call them, have two different purposes. And we'd like to bring to light the very purpose of the world and show the separate nature of it and the solutions and the awareness to the earth that comes along with this process.
mm,
So, understanding the world is a very great process that it does take some time if one chooses to give their energy and attention to the space to free them from the questions that we have about the world. Um, one of the very first things that we see is the lies within the world itself. Obviously, the lies then make one go on a journey because they become inquisitive about the nature of the world. And then you've opened up a very large can of worms that you can go on a search for your whole life, revealing lies and making one have a very negative outlook on the world. But I was also like today to be about pointing subtly away from that and bringing the attention to the truth which is held within the earth and yourself.
mm.
So if we talk about the earth and the world as as we go in, we can start to create this wonderful mind that begins to allow us to walk and expand and grow. So we could say the world, chemtrails, laws, toxins, ill health. You have the earth, its balance, its peace. The world being very chaotic within its nature. The world having an oppressive, ego dominant space that actually builds an ego. The earth being a space that actually liberates one from ego. The cycles within the earth are very different to the cycles within the world itself. And the world is full of busyness. The world is full of this distraction from one having time to be able to just
Big.
think or be or contemplate is the true word. So we should dip into the laws as well as we go into this, because it's a good time to bring up, the commercial laws or the laws of busyness or the high seas,
Mm,
maritime, admiralty law, because the world itself is full of laws. And obviously, there is only one true law, which is the law of nature, and to do no harm to others, cause no one harm, injury, or loss, and that is the true law. But there's all these micro laws and legislations that are tied to a person, And a person is a mask wearer, is an identity. It is a corporation that allows one to be engaged in the world or the realm of commerce. The world is the matrix itself. The world is Babylon. Babylon to be seen with the true eye is to be able on, which is to become enabled. This is the allegory of Abel, which is the right side of our energetic field or the hemisphere. So we're actually activating this etherical right side of our brain as we begin to use our true powers, our intuitive nature, rather than this fixed, boxed ego mind that develops here within the world.
Can I just ask a question? If if you say like the right side and the left side, the blue and the red, and
Yeah.
so would that mean that our, let's say, 0 point or dielectric field is going down our middle?
The spine as such, and the spine is slightly curved in its nature, which is what would be appearing as the sine wave. All light travels this way, but on the
Spiral.
side it looks like it's waving like this, but it's all traveling in a spiral. And then everything that spirals like respiration. And the
Isn't
spirit,
isn't everything, is not everything, but isn't everything, yeah, let's say everything a spiral? Like,
everything,
yeah.
even your hairs, everything is a spiral. But it takes one's, when we can become aware of the world, we start to attune ourselves to the delicacy of nature. When you start to observe nature, this is when you could say the elevated stage of consciousness starts to bring bliss to your state. You start to see like joy, and you're truly experiencing life, and life unfolds itself by just the geometry of it.
Hmm.
So you look at a flower and you see the spiral, and then it starts to build some awareness to it. And then you observe water and you'll see the nature of the spiraling within water, even this movement in the bath. And you'll see the lines and the geometry start to cross each other as a magnetic field, which is the vortex geometry of the torus. You turn a tap on and you observe the way that the water flows from the tap and it spirals out of the tap. This is the natural flow of life itself. And through understanding the energetic realm, we can understand the physical world itself. And it becomes very simple.
I don't know if you ever saw it, but I saw it one time on YouTube. Somebody doing an experiment with water, and frequencies,
Mm.
um, and it was like a garden tap, more or less, water coming out, and then they projected different, yeah, it started to go like this.
Yeah,
Big,
even a slow, the very key is the resonance. So you match the resonance of the thing.
whatever it is.
Yeah, and then magic happens. You match the resonance of a glass, you shatter. You match the resonance of a bridge, it'll fall.
That's sick. The
Mm.
bridges where the bridges just started to, and
Yeah,
coming from something making the wind making some kind of tune or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You match any resonance of anything. You can make the earth absolutely shake. In one of the very devices that Nikola Tesla invented back in the 1800s was an earth. Well, it was a device that was a resonant frequency matcher that could shake anything down. Like, it was an incredible simple device that he didn't want to get in the hands of ones that weren't virtuous, let's say. But has one experienced earthquakes? Does one know what an earthquake is, or have we been a part of a concept that has been passed to us about the nature of earthquakes, the nature of volcanoes, and the nature of our Earth to believe that it has a core, and the core is magma or this molten rock, and we exist on this spinning globe. Now, one thing is the world with all of its teachings, all of its lessons, all of its education. The one thing that everyone is taught is the ball, Earth. And in the earth itself, within the earth, it's a very obvious thing because you get to use your senses without the mind itself interpreting reality for you. So it's very obvious that you're not spinning through space. It's very obvious that this earth has to be level. It has 72% water, and water cannot conform to any ball. It conforms to a cup. And the very level that we see is called the horizon. Well, horizontal is a horizon, TAL. It's horizontal. So as we see in the horizon, we're actually using language that is explaining to us that it is very much flat.
Mm.
You see, latitude, if you put an F in front of latitude, it spells flatitude. And lat comes into the word flat is because the latitude of matter is flat. It's latitudinal matter, flat. So what they've actually done with inside the world here is they have used a torus, switched it to an atom, and they're trying to say they can't figure out the theory of this atom because it's non-visible. But as soon as it has attention or consciousness, it creates shapes and images. And if you study this double slit experiment, you'll start to open up awareness to what the world is saying. So truly, it's actually a magnetic field. Go on, please.
Double slit experiment.
Yeah, you all should have a look and take some time just to look at the double slit experiment to see. It's basically they're shooting light or photons between two sides, and they're showing the occurrence between the slits, and will it go through one, other, or both, and if there's an observer or a non-observer, does it actually happen? So they're trying to bring the nature of ourselves into some physicality, which can never be found because this is found here. But they are trying to express this. So this world is based on the deceit, and they're calling things atoms instead of magnetic fields. Magnetic fields and understanding of magnetism has been about since ancient times. The magnetic field would explain the geometry and the underlying nature of all physicality in its most simplest way, but it also explains the energy of ourselves and the Kundalini energy system, the red and the blue shift, and the inertia plane. That is the flat space that we live. We actually live on an energetic plane.
Mm.
Physicality itself is just light, photons interpreted. So so we could say,
But just if I can, because I got so curious. You mentioned before, about earthquake and volcanoes.
yes.
What's really happening? If it's not, the tectonic plates or some, also, is there a total different explanation?
Well, the only thing that would ever come would be, we know frequencies. We know that if they match the resonance, there's a vibration.
Mm.
So the earth will continue to sing its song as it does its dance.
Mm.
And at certain parts of this song, there's a resonant frequency match, which then would shake and vibrate. But I would say it's more than likely something that has, been created for this end of day scenario that has been, built up within the world to keep one in a state of fear, illusion, or following concepts. Because all history is his story, and we follow the concepts of someone else's experience, or even the program of the disillusion that it was actually someone else's experience when it's just the story.
So volcano, lava, also.
If you study them and you have a look into the history of it, there's actually only 3 people that have ever been involved with the very science of them. Now, when a volcano is actually very active, you'll see there are cases where you can see someone running down from the mountain before this has become active. So like a scientific experiment. that goes on and is spread across the media to make people feel and believe that this is something which goes on within the world, for that magma core theory to sort of lay to rest. So people just say it has to be because they see this, splurging out of a volcano. And if you know the nature of the earth and you see the old mountains were actually like an ancient tree, I mean, this might be too deep for some people, depending on where they're at. But if you study the nature of the earth, you'll see that everything has come from tree. Trees petrify and turn to rock. So all the things that we're seeing out has actually come from tree. This is why they're called trees, and we are told a tree of life, etc. But we haven't really. Some don't give the delicacy and the intricacy to life itself, and as one does this, the real expansion of the physical nature of your world is presented to you with such beauty and divine synchronizations, and it just leads from one thing to the other as you really come back to the most simplest space. All these gemstones, all this gold, all the things that people are searching for is actually tree. And the oil that people dig in the middle, you see that they say it's in craters, is actually the tree. So the oil that's held under the water is when water has actually covered it. And deep down under the roots of the tree, there's this oil. So they drill through this. But it was an ancient tree, Even in my local sea, there's a wonderful stump. There's not too large, like it's not a mountain or an island, but it's just a perfectly shaped tree stump coming out of the
Huh.
water that is, would have reached past the clouds if it was still here. If one goes to Spain or any of these places that have these huge mountainous areas, just spend some time looking. 20 miles back from some mountains, you see the edges curve perfectly. And then you can see the actual roots of the tree as it goes down the mountain. And then how do mountains, how does water fall from mountains? I've been in Spain, 6 months on a mountain, isolated from everyone, just on this wonderful peak. It took 12 minutes to drive up to this wonderful space where we were.
Mm.
And water still dropped from this mountain tree. And how do trees work? And they draw water up from the
Reverse
roots.
osmosis.
So it's continually happening. This is how waterfalls happen, etc. Everything is simple. Everything is just perfection. We were always told, by the Nordics and all these ancient civilizations, even some of the earth depictions were like a flat and they have a tree going through them, And all civilizations up until the 1500s with Copernicus, they were always with the true understanding that the earth wasn't spinning. But see, the way the world distorts the truth is that it is spinning, it's rotating, but only energetically, non-physically. So torus fields are naturally reciprocating, and this is how they get the truth with the lie, depending on if you're a seeker or a believer and a follower.
So when people are talking about flat Earth, there's talk about a dome, but the dome is the energetic field then, right?
Yeah. There's, they talk about the Van Allen belts, don't they? They say you cannot go beyond this. It is, the field. There's no more field beyond that. So the field itself is contained, and all life itself is expressed within this field. But this field is actually expressed inside you. So all life comes from within inside you. We would just like to add that as we continue. So yeah, that was a good question. So the torus field is the physical God within the world, the earth, I should say. And the God particle that they're searching for is this. But
Is
that
the Taurus?
it absolutely is, yeah. The Taurus, the Taurus. You see, the Taurus is related to the bull or the bull, and the bull is the bull. So if we're missing one bull, this shift, the blue shift, the divine feminine, to active 8, yeah, because we are in 8 and it's here. The Bible is the two bulls, and the two bulls are the two reciprocating fields of the torus. Bi being two, bull being bull, but they spell it different, but it's phonetically there for you. That's where we have to use our intuition and follow the synchronizations of even language, and that language will lead us to this truth. You know, the trees themselves as well, if you look at the nature of a tree, they're designed so perfectly as an opposer, but an equal opposite that is necessary for life to exist. It gives you shade from the cold, the moonlight. It gives you shade from the sun. It gives you shade from the rain. It gives you oxygen and takes your carbon dioxide away. It drops the fruits.
It's so.
It gives you the wood. It gives you the fire. It gives you the heat. It gives you everything that you need. And the trees that were here would have been so vast that the levels of oxygen, etc., would have been, you know, much more increased, which means bigger sizes, bigger things.
So what's the reason for them being so big once upon a time?
What is size? You know, what is size but relative to the size that you are?
Exactly. But
So
so
as
so
these,
there were giants.
you know, there's one logical explanation for the reason of giants. Everything would have been bigger because of the levels of oxygen and the levels of everything within inside the space. Now, if those giants were barbaric, like the BFG says, you know, then they would have been damaging these trees, cutting these trees down, you know, utilizing them for the space, and the depletion of oxygen through the different avatars and ages would have made this vessel smaller, animals smaller, etc. You know, it's also only relative to physicality. It's not relative to your true nature, but the physicality aspect of things is what distracts you and eludes you from your ultimate. Because we search physically very hard, and the world is a perfect place to search. The world has so many different dynamic traps for you, so many spaces that you can push your attention to and continue to, you know, take from the world as such, and join in with what it's trying to do. And the ego loves the juice. Like, the ego loves all of this. It loves to be able to tell someone the next day about this, or to try to bring people in. It loves the feeling, the emotion that it gets when someone feels sorry for it. And it's just a space that is not an evolutionary process for us. So within the world themselves, you know, we could say houses, they're called properties, and they have mortgages. Mortgages means death pledge, a debt that will never end. You have this property, which is a property. You have to pay for a car to drive to work to pay for the car and the house. Now, if your mind is fixated on here, there's a certain element of suffering, because the bills, or the bills, they also add in the taxes, and then you're in this continual perpetual state of work and employment, which is a job, which is persecution in Hebrew. So that whole aspect of this space is doing one thing, and it's trying to push you away. It's trying to give you a realization through the suffering and chaos of the world. Order comes from chaos, order out of chaos. And nobody's doing this individually. It is the awareness itself has created this for one to be able to escape from. through the application of their intuition that says this isn't right, but the mind will come in and accept it because everyone else is doing this. But everyone else is one of your biggest challenges. So we look to the earth in this situation and we see the earth is providing. The earth is abundant. All of your worries can be alleviated by planting the most intelligent thing that we could ever experience with is a seed. There is nowhere in nature or science that can duplicate a seed unless it is here. You know, the the scientists would never be able to replicate a seed, no matter how long they tried. The sweet smell of a rose, you know, they could never have this seed turn into this beautiful thing. So we see the earth as what it is. We see that it's abundant. We realize that if we leave or slowly overcome the fears that are presented here about leaving, because all these fears that are actually keeping us in this perpetual state of work are fed from the media. And that media and the attention on the media gives us the limitations and the cage that we feel if we believe that that story is true. Media have never told you once that it's true. Just tell you the news stories. So we realize the earth is abundant. The food we need is there. The shelter we need is there. We have maybe a belief that we cannot go and inhabit the earth as natural beings. Understanding the law we spoke of to a certain extent, I find tends to trap people. Because I know many people that have spent 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, even 25 years on the law, and they still have to deal with the law, and they're not liberated from it.
Can one be? Also, just leave?
Well, you actually are always free. You've
Yeah.
never not been free from it. It was the belief that made you feel that you were not free. Understanding your person within the world and your persona within the earth are both very expansive, freeing parts of your awareness. So the person is the corporate legal identity fiction or character that is created for one to be able to do trade and commerce with the commercial world. The reason why every interaction that you would have with the law, the first thing they ask is your name. The name is the enemy, the enemy. The name is Nami. The truth is the name backwards, which is the E-man. So this name itself is not you, but they're trying to get you to contract with them at that point for you to say, I am this name. Now you are no longer a living being. You are treated as a commercial instrument, a piece of paper that has no life. It is dead. It is not inherent to land. It has to pay taxes and is now under subject to every act and statute that has been created for the limitation of that person. Now, the reason why the laws keep getting more, because consciousness is expanding. So one can search and get more oppression in as they search. And this causes one to suffer so much. And in that suffering, there may be one which truly looks beyond instead of within their paperwork. Because you are always free. The Bible itself speaks very much about trust and equity, which is the true nature of law. But one is only free when they know who they are. Do you know that you are not a person?
No,
If you go on, please.
yeah, so now I do. Also after meeting you, uh, I know that I have a higher self. Like yeah, this is yeah,
So the
it's,
person that you now are speaking of is the persona and identity that our awareness gets trapped into.
mm,
We, our attention goes into the personal body mind with its habits, its construct of its personality, etc.
so we live from that person.
Its warped perceptions on reality, its judgments, its concepts, its desires, and all these things are all relative to the person. So everyone has these different perceptions because their awareness has gone into different compartmentalizations within inside the matrix itself. That's where the matrix has so many things, so many different opportunities, so many experiences that one can have within the matrix itself, which never brings any freedom apart from a desire for more.
Mm,
Because it is that initial freedom that one experiences through something new that they search more and more. But yet, renewal is found here in the moment perpetually without the mind itself, bringing joy effortlessly all the time. Freedom, you know. So, within the law person, I say, do you know that you're not a person? And do you know that you're not a person enough to be able to engage in dialogue and conversation with somebody who is in a perceived position of power?
hmm. Yeah, because that's something I've been thinking about. Let's say you stand your ground and you say that I'm a free person, you know, and you would really have to know all about it to kind of if you go to, let's say you're in a court and
Mm-hmm.
you say no, I won't deal with this, I'm a free I'm free,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't they just put you in prison?
They would put you in prison if you were in court. No. They what it is really is the true understanding from beginning to the end. Now, without your name, can they claim jurisdiction over you? Do they need to establish a name and an address to address you from? So giving your name and your address is consent to this. But at any given time, in the power of the moment, one has the power to be able to become free. So you're interacting with the law or the perceived law, because the
Mm.
law is within and it's natural. You will never get to the stage of the game of court to your T, your physical, and engage in this game because you've already stopped that from being here. See, post is after office is off ice. We're talking about the maritime admiralty law of the seas. So when you're off the ice, you're in the water. This is why you have an off icer, because they are patrolling the water. This is why the roads themselves are rivers. I mean, look at the word driver. You see D form river. In the word driver is the word river. D is for, which is form. Cement is cement. It's sea mind. These roads have been created as an illusion to drive your ship on. And this is why the whole world's currency system is based on banks. B is to Ankh holds, uncles, anchors. This is holding a two-way flow of energy or currency, which is water. It's the currency. Cash, ISAs, frozen assets. All of these things here are to do with water because water is the essence of life itself. It is the medium and fluid for all existence to be able to be here. So it has to be perceived by its delicacy and its truth. And when one perceives it and goes beyond the law, you are absolutely free because the law is not for you as the truth. So knowing your person, knowing that you are virtuous and you are kind and you deal with every interaction without the fear element, because fear makes one panic. It's all about overcoming these things very slow within inside yourself for the true understanding of what is. Now, one may fear the law, they may see flashing lights, they may get anxiety every time that they pass them. That needs to be dealt with for one's freedom. So stop the illusion and go and have a conversation with somebody. These are businesses. They are businesses.
When you say
Yep.
they, or police,
A business.
all.
A business. All courts, even courts, were dissolved in 2008 and they're all private business centers. You'll never find a court that is true. They are private business centers
Mhm.
to deal with business. And business is where the term would be is strictly business. Sorry. Because if you don't know who you are, that's what it is. It's strictly business. And this can get one in a lot of trouble. The first thing that they say is you have the right to remain silent. So if someone's telling you it's right to remain silent, why do you speak?
Mhm.
These are the very
Exactly.
simple things. Come on, brother, please.
No, I was just saying it's a good point. Also, you have the right to remain silent. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And when you go to this court as a free man, I mean, freeman or sovereign still means you are. It doesn't mean you're free. Sovereign is not a freeing word. The queen is a sovereign, and she is not free. She is far from it. Where were we going with this word? So the freeman. People say I'm going to represent myself and deal with it maybe in trust and equity, which would be the absolute very best space because what's happening is it's all to do with the trust law rather than what we have perceived it to be. But if you go to represent yourself, now they're asking you to represent yourself. So they want the document. Document, do see your ment, to see your mind, the document. And what you're doing is saying that I am a document if you're representing yourself, because how can you represent yourself? If you're here, how can I represent myself? I am here, Judge. So allowing yourself to become very peaceful and interact with people peacefully is the solution to this. All of these interactions with the policy, and all policies are created for businesses, and they are the rules and regulations of those which work for the business. Your country is a business. Your government is a business.
Mm.
Jesus threw out the money changers. This is all one needs to do is let go of the belief that someone has empowerment over you. And as more beings start to unify with this very simple nature, without an address, okay, can anyone fill in the paperwork?
No. Mhm.
So without your name, they can't fill in paperwork. So if you don't have a name or an address, you've just broken their code. How can they deal with you? Because it's all corporate. It's not this moment that's happening here and now. I've come to deal with a report. And this is why the post office is the mail center, but post office was actually the first original court ever.
I heard that, but I also hear stories about people who have won in court, let's say, and gotten rid of uh, mortgages and different things based on these things. Could be lies and rumors and bullshit. But what's your
So you're saying that some people are utilizing the power of the birth certificate to be able to discharge debt.
yeah, or saying that they know they are not the birth certificate and it's not anything to do, but then then removing themselves from the system so they can't engage in the system
The
in the
trouble
way.
is, what you need to do is not fear the system and not create all these illusions with the system. You need to be able to utilize the system to your advantage.
Hmm.
Don't create concepts and limitations. The system is there. It's doing beautiful what it's here to do. It's doing perfectly.
Hmm.
It's waking people without things that have happened with inside the world. The spontaneous arising of people's awakefulness wouldn't have necessarily happened in such a way. Is doing the good round, even though it may be perceived individually as very bad and very toxic. That's holding the limitation in your awareness to that belief. You go beyond that and you see the true nature of what it's doing. You
Hmm.
see, everyone is suffering, let's say, through this viral adventure that we're having. Well, not everyone. And they stay inside their houses, or they go along with what's going on. But yet, maybe 0.1% of these people have actually looked into any part of the physiology of the body and how these things interact. And they're not eating the correct foods, etc. So they're not just blossoming as they proceed through this wonderful experience that we're having.
Hmm.
So the truth will be found if one seeks about this. If one is living the truth, they will never experience it. So the thing that's going on in the world of business is only for business. So you see, when people want to go into a business, they conform to that business. Now, all businesses within certain countries are saying that you need to be vaccinated or anything to get in, or it's a business. So to get inside that venue, you have to abide by the rules of the business. Now, the country itself is not a place or a space, it is a business. And you contract to be a part of that business by your employment. Employed, deployed, reployed. If one is free and creates and continues to do the path they wish to do without worrying about the world, gives their attention to all the beautiful things in life, none of this will take any cause or effect. We can try to create trusts which are good for business. You can take away any liabilities from your person into a trust that's created as an LLC or a limited liability company. And then you can create trust within trusts to compartmentalize that to protect it even more. If you work with this organic part of experience, because it's natural, it unfolds, it's just a part of the awareness itself, and look for your escape route. Get the land, plant the trees, find the space that is warm. Find a place where you're going to be able to exist without the need for heating or even cooling,
Hmm.
and let nature do what it does. The earth is so beautiful, it's so abundant, it's so natural, it has so many elements that help one find freedom within inside their self and go on a natural evolution, a great connection, an expansion. The world itself is so captive, it's so egoic, it brings so much identity, so many objects to get lost in, but that is the great purpose of it. So there's two swings, and we can try to exist in harmony with both. Even if we say the world is full of sickness and disease, and then you go into the space of why, and you look at the foods. If you understand the body, there's no need for anything else. Which foods have these wonderful glucose and amino acids. And if you eat them, the body regenerates and repairs, and you go on this unfolding to a higher body vibration connection and freedom from ailments. And if you are continually eating from this world, the body will get sick, it will degenerate, and then something will arise as a pain body experience that should be looked and dealt with. We give ourselves, if we give ourselves to the world at this point, then you will become worse, because this is about self-empowerment. And this is why the medical industry is there, the pharmaceuticals,
Mm.
because you don't treat, or you could say you can treat, you don't heal a body with toxicity or chemicals. You have a look at what has been done to create this disease and you adjust accordingly. Now, if one is, eating food that is not for the body, you don't look at some medication to treat that, because it's just going to continually make you worse. You look at the very root of that cause, which is what one is putting into the mouth, and you bring remedy by correcting it. And it's so simple.
Mm.
But in the world, they will never reveal this, because it's not the nature of the world. This is your truth and your true nature, and it's the obvious nature of the earth. If you tell me one thing other than a tree truly, which would provide food, what is it? You have fields full of rice, for example, and these rice fields are seeds, grains, and these grains themselves actually get planted. Anything that gets planted is not a food, it's a seed to bring new life. And this is why the fruits bear the seed, because the fruit goes through you with the seed or without the seed goes into the ground and the energy gets transferred and the body gets the abundant, rich amino acid and glucose. So this
Can
is,
I just ask, when it's not enough, when the fruit drops from a tree, the fruit, decompose and goes into the ground and the seeds, but that won't become a tree or a new tree. What's but the process of going through our system, like we eat the seed or an animal eat the seed and poo, and then this creates a tree. What's happening there? Is it like a process with the seed that makes it grow? Also, is it?
I mean, you can plant straight from a squash into the garden and it'll grow.
It will.
Yeah, but what happens is when you consume it, you're adjusting slightly the chemistry of that particular fruit, and it will produce what the body is lacking actively.
Oh,
So it has the ability to uptake more of one thing than the other to fill the void of what the body's missing when you have that relationship with your food.
so if I eat some fruit, I poo out the seed. This what will grow up will have what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
But you go to a shop to pay for the food that's grown with 3 minerals instead of 108 or even 90 minerals or 84 minerals. And those 3 minerals there are synthetic. They're fed with synthetic nitrogen, which means the plant can't uptake natural nitrogen. And we, as a human species, must, before we leave this realm, one, experience what it's like to have a tree grown from yourself and eat of the fruit in a few seasons and cycles, and understand that the only thing that we are here to do is transcend the very nature of ego and give our attention to these two things. Because it's only in the space of truth with the earth and physicality will one have the time to be able to give that reflection to the self and really contemplate on one's true nature and reality. Peacefulness, a questionable space where there are no concepts and there's this great, great knowing.
We need to go somewhere warm and poo out the forest full of what we need.
Yeah, and as that wonderful compost comes out, there's a wonderful, you have this microbiome and this gut bacteria which brings body balance, but you also then give it to the soil, and the soil has this microbiome, and they all work together in harmony to create, even more light and life for you. It's an incredible thing. But there's so much availability and technology that we are moving towards now that, the game is going to be ramped up even more for some. They're going to be so locked within inside a artificial world within the artificial self that itself will be full of algorithms, stress, pain, all these processes that will lead one who seeks to become free from it. So it's not a bad thing. It's only perceived to be bad by those that get fixated within the conspiracy of this movement.
Let's just quickly take a question from Sister Joanne because it's relevant. What about the fruits that have big seeds we can't eat, like mango? In the case, is it best to fertilize the tree with your waste so it knows what you need?
I mean, one of the best, well, the best is your urine, and then secondary would be like a sea water. So your urine is one of the most incredible things you can do for your garden. It keeps away the pests and animals as well by having this scent, so they don't tend to come around your garden. And yeah, that is full of minerals and amino acids. Your urine, so it is the perfect thing for your beautiful trees. Now, as you'll be able
Sorry,
to.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Will
please.
will 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 the urine also tell the tree or whatever it is what you need?
Non-verbally. So if
Okay.
when you suck around a seed as well, you're putting elements, your saliva, your DNA is working with this plant itself. So, the best thing you can do is just eat around the seeds. You think all big seeds like the mango, the durian, these jackfruit seeds, even lychee seeds, they're quite large. So you just work with yourself. And I would say I would always wee in my garden. Always. It's a waste if you don't.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see.
I think, back in the day, I think, the Victorian ages of England, again, the inhabitation of these lands is kind of recent because of the nature of it. It had to be done through commerce. We had to get ships over. We had to bring food. But the bedpan idea, people would have a bedpan
Yeah.
and it would be done and then it would be tipped in the garden.
I'm
And
gonna get
now, go
I'm
on.
gonna get one
Mm,
because then I don't have to go to the toilet 3 times every night.
yeah.
I
I
might maybe find some holes I can just connect. So I can just.
just say.
That should be. Yeah, I'm gonna do that actually.
So then, you're bringing balance, and what we're actually doing is we're treating it as waste, and we've got this whole system of water within, say, our government system, water that is recycling water itself from our poo and our wee, etc., when it could be used for our own garden as perfect fertilizer.
So the whole let's say the whole sewer system should be redone to take out
Do you know
what's
what? It we should bring the empowerment back to ourselves and walk away from that system.
yeah.
We need to have bores, or we need to have this, truly, dear brother, one doesn't need to drink water. It's all in the fruit. The hydration is there. It's perfectly balanced. It's alkalizing, and it brings your body charge and balance. So when one is hydrated with true carbohydrates, they hydrate the carbon body. That's the key. You don't when you're having dead food or you're having salt, where it pulls water from the cells, you then get dehydrated. If you're having grains or you're having, anything like nuts and seeds and all these things, they dehydrate you as well. The fruit itself is just full of water content. And the matter itself is very small, and it's full of energy and life source, living foods, enzymes, bacteria. The bacteria within the fruit is the bacteria that goes here and feeds the body properly.
I feel now cooking cooking and eating these cooked dinners, uh, there's a definite difference uh, in this dense feeling. And also I tend to, if you if I feel dehydrated, my legs start to itch.
Mm-hmm.
My calves or my legs.
Expansion of the skin, quite rapidly, isn't it? You start to see the inflammation and the water retention within the skin, and then they start to itch because of the stretching. Yeah.
Mhm.
It happens so rapidly when you're on a very clean diet. You can see exactly what the food does.
I have come to understand, and now of course know
Hmm.
that that when when one rids itself of the helpers to digest and eat the dead food, when one strays, it goes quickly. The waste goes quickly to the waste. Let's say.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost instantly. It's like
Yeah.
the animal instincts. We won't call them animal instincts, shall I say? We use senses. We have looked upon the animal kingdom as having these hyper senses. And then if you go back when you were looking at this, if one did look when they were young, you will see that it's because the food that we've been consuming is to desensitize your senses,
Mm.
to suppress them. And as one elevates beyond, so we start to incorporate the truth with our diet. So this is why on our website we have all these types of very simplistic applications for one to continually evolve, but the food is treated as like a number one way in, and that this unfolds evolution.
Just out of interest, personal interest, would you say if I'm eating fruits, juices, smoothies all day long, except this one dinner with cooked whole foods, like like from your recipe book,
Mhm.
I'm still okay, right?
You'll be absolutely incredible still. It's really the ultimate, the ultimate source of food for man, or the ultimate reality is to be one with nature, intertwined with all this abundant life and animals, etc., in union. That would be effortlessness. Tree, mouth, done. Within any type of experience beyond the true natural law, there's effort. So it's just more effort this way, but yet the ego mind itself is happy to do it for the reward that it gets through the recycling of this. So the mind has had the experience, and it's only the experience which drives you to make and create again. Otherwise, you'd be looking for new things, new experiences, or just happy with what is.
Mm.
And what is, or the truth of what is, would be that the food itself is grown from the ground. And without someone else giving it to you, what would you do? What would 6 billion, 7 billion, let's say there's 7.1 billion people in the earth. What would 7 billion people do without someone giving them food?
They would have any problem.
But yet we provide within the earth more. This is another world and earth subject. We provide twice as much food for everyone within the earth to be nourished and to be fed, and half of it's wasted. But yet, with the world itself, we have this scarcity mindset that there is world hunger when it's not world hunger, it's business.
Mm.
But everything that's happening to these people that are hungry is the very drive that's leading them to their liberation and freedom, because without their hunger, they would never find the truth. Everyone experiences different levels of suffering here, depending on the karma that they have attached to them. Again, it's a perfect system, but yet someone so such a seeker can stay so fixated on trying to change world hunger that they absolutely spend their whole life angry at a system that is trying to free them in its purposeful nature. It's like the Elon Musk was asked, wasn't he, to give money to solve world hunger. 6 billion, I think. It will never solve world hunger, ever. The stories of when I was young, there was a bear with one eye called Pudsey, Children in Need. And it went on for years and years and years. And every year they tried to get money from people. And, the director of even the Cancer Research UK, they got £23 million bonus in 2017. I haven't looked since, but it was a £21 million bonus for the director. It was a charity. This doesn't happen. So your money is not going to where it should be. All of these things are traps for one's awareness. You elevate this, that's when the world can become healed. Just one being that has the ability to see the truth can shed light on so many that there's so many who then begin to see the light transform the very world itself. But the world has a collective mind within inside of it. It's like the monkey effect. The sweet potatoes from one island to the next, and they introduced washing sweet potatoes to get the sand off, and then the monkeys on the other island started to do this as well.
Yeah, I heard.
It happens within us. It's a collective, and what it is like all yellow, let's say all black cats are collectively black cats, and all tigers are collectively tigers as such. So they share the unified field here. So as we continue to elevate ourselves, naturally the experience itself will begin to show others who are beginning to understand this very logical, natural truth of all things that we are here to see. And understanding that world as a succubus of your energy and your time and your awareness, but also a place of your liberation through seeing through the fog of it and having it activate you, and to continually walk through this mist until you come to a space of realization of what it does, what its function is holistically, and how you are absolutely separate from it at all times. Never get tied into the concept world with inside the world itself. Like I said, laws is kind of very on the forefront of most men, because most men want to be able to be dominant and powerful and protect. And one of the ways that we see we can protect others in our family is by understanding the law, because the law can take them from us. And it can't. It can't. Do good to others and you'll be absolutely fine. And if you get a parking ticket, I wouldn't waste 5-6 years of your life trying to figure out how to overcome a £25 parking ticket when you could give yourself the direction to understanding, let's say, the money system. Not the money system and how it's created promissory notes, but understanding how to utilize debt to make money for yourself, and learning the interest rates and how to be a part of this so you can thrive. This is your existence. This is your reality. Everyone is on their own individual journey across this plane. So the more that we can be here and focus on ourselves, the more we experience that which we have come here to experience. There's so much that is up for availability to increase your awareness here. But what is important is the fact that you evolve on the journey. So information will remain information, but it's not the same as any experience. So all that information that you're taking in is just a belief. It will never be a knowing until that very day that you apply the truth. And fortunately, I applied many truths, and I am just here for pointing.
And thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Is there any beautiful questions that we have? I know we haven't really gone really too deep into the nature of the world and the earth,
We might be sidetracked a
but
bit.
it's a lovely conversation. So we'll let it flow.
Yeah. Um, I see at least the last one. I can see please organic intelligence asking please speak about new earth and crystalline.
So crystalline would be the Christ all line. Christ is the awareness and the consciousness that is attainable by one as they let go of all concepts. And the etherical brain manifests and the Kundalini energy starts to rise. You activate your higher being. That's the Christ all line. So we have a belief within inside the world of conspiracy that all of a sudden people are going to just turn into this being or this different avatar or this different body. The body vibrates at a different frequency every time one surrenders the aspect of mind or ego. Fear itself, holding on to fear or any type of fear within inside your resonance halts the resonance. So your body will continue to vibrate at a higher frequency, bringing in higher experiences and higher dimensions as you continue to let go and experience that which is true. The questions that lie within your intuition must be answered and experienced or surrendered and let go of for this freedom to manifest. So the crystalline body is just an alignment with the vibrational energy or the freedom that is the consciousness of Christ, not Jesus. Jesus was a man or the man, and Christ was the consciousness, as was Buddha was the consciousness and is attainable by everyone who is devoted to the truth. And devotion to the truth and application of that will lead you to Christ consciousness, freedom and liberation, and beyond even the concepts of freedom and liberation. And the world is so full of these distractions. So a few beings together on a similar journey, sharing a wonderful space of land, working together on that land, creating no address, just experiencing life in union with the land and planting and then sitting with themselves. Or one will truly be happy doing this, whether the mind wants a Porsche or a Range Rover. This is where one is continually active in their truth, and there is no experience like it. That will bring so much freedom to everyone, so much security. What happens if the system collapses tomorrow? What happens if the grid goes down? What happens if everybody's attention has been fixated on cryptocurrency and then it drops offline? And all the money that people had invested into that could have been invested in creating fruit farms and forests. What happens if there is a great reset in such a way? Would you like to be in cold Norway, or would you rather be in a warm, temperate Costa Rica, Bali, where you know that there's food perpetually here for you? These choices that we can make in this moment to move ourselves closer to this is what we have. But if we don't, and we listen to the mind itself with its fears, this is when there will be a significant level of regret if one still holds on to the mind and a difficult journey presented to them, trying to find food, etc., because one is not within the truth. Man was never supposed to exist with clothes in cold environments with no foliage, no vegetation. The word vegetable, veggie, vegetation, able. That's for you, brother. It's just vegetation that allows the physical to be able. I was contemplating on it after, and that's all that means, because it's a topic of a group of collective foods So it's just vegetation, vegetable, physical able.
Mm.
It's not the fruit, but it still allows the physical to carry on. Secondary.
Secondary solution. Um, yes, altså, let me see. The eat meat. So, organic intelligence has a follow-up to the question, I believe. So my parents or brother will not crystalline.
um,
They eat meats living 3D.
I mean, the only people that will do the crystal line are the ones that have found the truth and the ultimate truth within inside themselves. We have the ability more than ever now with these simple teachings that are here and that are found within great teachers along the way, Moji, Papaji. These help one come to the true nature of stillness, which is let go of concepts, do not think, and be here, fully involved with your experience, and see, and then see where the seer is seeing from and be that seer. That's the truth. The truth is everything that we are speaking about physically and conceptually has actually arisen within inside ourselves for the experience of separation in duality. The person, the body, the mind, they don't truly exist, and non-physicality is the ultimate truth. Physicality itself is an illusion. So the truth is the self-realization that you are the creator. That there is the Christ consciousness itself. So one that has come to that inner revelation will be the one that has the crystalline body. It's the Christ aligned body with the mind, the unification of the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity, the Bible, the magnetic Kundalini energy that has arisen within inside this coiled serpent, this divine feminine. This is what this experience is. By being fruitarian, by being on a juice fast, this allows one to clear the negative aspects of all the DNA coding that's holding on as a memory form within inside its cellular structure from this negative outlook past, etc. As we clean this body, we begin to see clear, and the mind itself also comes up very loud, which gives you an opportunity to see the mind within inside the reflection of yourself, to note that it is very separate from that which you are. And then how do we become free from this mind? As an inward contemplation is actually the attention that we are giving to this is creating the illusion of it. I have found a new space in this moment where I can experience true reality.
I lost my thought of train of thought. Coming back to me.
It'll be back with you. But that moment that we
Yeah, I
experience.
remember. Sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, you have to be a fruitarian, but can you still have that cooked dinner?
Now, when I said you have to be fruitarian, I was leading on a journey. So all of these fruitarian aspects, it is a concept still. Being a fruitarian is a label that makes you something which you're not. So I am not anything. I am this. I am it. And I will only ever be it. And I truly understand that my person, the mind that attached to it, all of these aspects of consciousness and awareness are actually within inside me. As above, so below, as within, so without. Where you may hear people speak of, you are not separate from me. How can you be separate from me? And this is an inward revelation, and that's the Christ awareness that happens when one is truly devoted to spiritual work. Distillation, letting go, personal characters, beliefs, fears. expectations, anger, all of the sins, and then being virtuous, aligning with the truth and nature, being kind. All this is all the energetic shift that allows the vibrational frequency to become higher. That's the liberation, that's the evolution. That's the process of what it's like to become so very free. And if you wish to learn more about it with the application, then that's where our website comes in very handy, because it's courses, it's very easy to understand, and it just takes, I mean, our Q&As, when we have our Q&As, they can last 4 to 5 hours, on Sundays, and many questions are answered there. So we have great responses from people who've just watched our Q&As and had every answer that they needed through their experience there. So it's just a wonderful place of truth for you to apply, to evolve.
Definitely.
And our great community of wonderful
Mm.
appliers of
Mm.
truth. So very great, so very grateful for them, and so much gratitude for the energy shift that they're having within themselves and the world.
Mm.
So when
I was just going up the list a little bit just to check if somebody, an Austin brother, hey, uh,
hey brother,
he says, Josh, do you think astrocartography has merit? Astrocartography?
yeah, no, none of this is truly meritable on any ultimate truth. Everything physical has arisen in that which you truly are as a concept to elude you from that which you are. So it's only the inward space. The astro, let's say astro, what was I say, astronauts. No astros. They are not going to upper space. Um, I'm lost for the word now. I'll say astrotheology, but the mysticism of the stars, how people believe that they can free them if they study it, astrology, etc. When astrology was actually created inside yourself as the illusion of separation, and for the illusory body mind to seek something other than itself. But it also gives a revelation once observed that the nature of the world and its reverse teachings is very obvious by the fixated pole star while the stars rotate, when we see the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time, when we are told that they live at two opposite ends.
Mm.
And
And that's exact. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
this pole star situation
Hmm.
is actually I haven't gone deep into deep Earth facts, but this alone, also if there's a star fixed out there somewhere, and we are supposed to go around and tilt and go through space in incredible speeds, how then can this star be fixed compared to us?
Mhm.
Uh, that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of good things for people just to become free is the patent number 1338343, and it's to do with the application and derivation of a non-linear aircraft flying over a flat plane by NASA
Mm,
themselves. That's one of the things that is a great pointer. Um, Another thing is the fixed pole star, how the stars are rotating around us. The planets themselves are these wandering stars. You have 8 inches per mile squared is the perceived angle of this globe Earth, or should I say, conceived angle by science.
mm,
There's a river in England called the Bedford Level, and if you just go there with a laser experiment, you can see far enough to know that that is fear and fake within itself. And if you go up in a plane, we're not quite using Concorde at the moment, where we could fly higher, but it's quite obvious to see as long as you don't let the curved windows be a part of your perception and you see with your true eye. You sit on an airplane and you feel and you see that you take off and then you stay very much flat until you've finished and then you go down.
Mm.
There is no angle that the plane is flying around. Also, because if it was spinning, it would be shorter one way than it would be the other. So you would always fly with the Earth. And if you had a hot air balloon and you hovered, why can you hover for 10 hours and not be anywhere else?
Mm.
Because if you were to hover in a hot air balloon, you're free from the Earth. So where would the rotation be? But it all lies within the energy. That's the wonderful nature of the Earth, because it always tells you, but you must see beyond the lie. No matter what is going on with Mars, for example, they're saying that, they still tell you that it's outer space. The planets are so very far away, but it also gives you the ability to see beyond the lie and realize what's actually truly happening within inside the matrix itself. It just brings very, very great peace, and it's a great escape. But again, the words, to exit is to balance it, masculine and feminine, energetically. It's all energy here. To leave is to Al Eve. To level is Al Eve Al. These L's are this AO and EO, the red and blue shift of this Taurus. It's all about liberation, freedom from concepts, freedom from the mind interpreting reality for you, because non-experience is happening here.
Mm.
One is experiencing life through the eyes of an ego, being very limited by the limitation or the imitations that is found with it. This experience that is perpetually happening in this moment and unfolded to you is actually the experience in the moment that you're supposed to be experiencing. But if it's missed, how long will you revisit Groundhog Day? Every moment and every bit of writing that you see, every time, every being that you interact with, every sound, every bird, every conversation that you have with your partner, you see it for what it is. Listen. It's a very magical thing.
Mm. Sister Lisa has a question. Hey Lisa, I've always thought that whatever food is in season will have the nutrients you need for that time of year. Is there truth to that?
How many fruits are in season where you live?
Where I live, not many where I live.
It was a generic question, but there we go. How could you eat with seasons? You may be able to eat with certain seasons, but you couldn't eat with the seasons where you live, and I couldn't here. So
Let's move.
yes, I mean, to be able to sit in a place that has fruit all year round, of course. Tell me when coconuts are out of season. Tell me when papayas are out of season. Tell me when bananas are out of season. You get 2, 3, maybe 3 months of mangoes. I mean, if one had 2, 3, 4 mango trees that were mature, you would be absolutely bathing with mango.
In those climate where those fruits grow, there's season all year round, or do they have like some overlapping? Also,
Fruits will tend to have like 2 fruiting seasons in places like this, so that some fruits are perpetual. Like I said, the coconut, the mango, not the mango, the coconut, the banana, and the papaya.
they're just producing.
You just keep planting. I mean, a papaya will grow into a huge tree and provide fruit within 11 months of seeding.
Okay, so but this tree by itself will then, like after 11 months, bear fruits, uh, and but then just continuously doing so, or will it have a pause and come back after a
It's
period?
literally from when that's planted. So you will say that you plant one in this part of the year because it will give you for 3, 4 months heavily. to the next,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
out that
Yeah. Yeah.
system.
Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, from seed to tree, it's about working with the seasons and understanding each fruit. But again, that's another technology that is missed when that is your natural technology, the natural need to know your environment.
Mm.
When one is in Babylon, the environment there is very different, but it does turn able on.
Mm. Then brother Brandon have a question. Hi, the people who are setting up these things like 9/11 appear evil. However, as you point out, these events have hidden guidance to help us all find our way back to God. Are they evil or enlightened?
So I'm trying to find that question there so I can see whereabouts is that.
Brendan, it's like a
There we go. Hi,
yeah.
people setting up these things that are pretty evil. So it's not anyone setting them up itself. It's kind of like the nature of consciousness expressing itself through beings. Because all of these beings that are doing perceived evil are so unconscious, because if they were conscious, this would not be a part of it. So who controls the unconscious? And it's an aspect of consciousness itself. It's the automatic man that's doing the automatic things until the ego has been transcended within the very nature of experience. So everything that is done within this reality is absolutely pushing one to the truth via the pain body experience. So the pain of the thoughts, or the pain of the emotion, or the pain of pain, suffering, illness, sickness, disease. So everything here, if we feel something, we have to change, and through that change, we experience liberation and truth each time. Like when one actually does something and experiences positivity, that's an element of freedom. We call it positivity. It is absolutely having a moment where there's no baggage. There's none of this person. It's kind of a moment of freedom. And then the person comes back. Another person has wants and needs and desires and wants to actually relive that experience. So we're searching for something which was past. But yet there's unlimited opportunity for new experiences here to tune it and fortune it. What does one do? Live in the past, the mind and the ego within the world, going to work every day within the cycle of busyness, paying for things which are already built, paying for food that is not true food, and having an experience so disconnected from the true nature of your experience that there's a perpetual suffering within the mind, the body. And all we want here is for people, beings, to be able to just take necessary steps to liberate themselves from suffering, because it's so very simple. And it just takes one step at a time. Slow and steady wins the race.
Mm.
You will absolutely know every time that you apply something what is true and what is not true. And it's just an onward journey. And each liberation that you get, each truth that you've applied, there is so much positivity that arises within your body, the nature of its energy, the field, just continues to increase. How can you have a better receptive body, suit, flesh, organic experience of intelligence, consciousness, fixated mind, senses, perception, than this experience, what we're having now? If we live through the eyes of the ego, we'll never see it. If we can be experiencing it, we know, we find enlightenment, and joy and peace will be forever with you as you are involved with that creation. And is not missed. Beautiful children, friends and family, loved ones, beings that we don't know interacting. This is pure magic. To be able to shut one's eyes and still hear themselves, to be able to create images and patterns and stories and experiences, to be able to dream within the dream. This is the greatest intelligence. I choose this over any type of metaverse.
Yeah.
Mm.
Organic Intelligence has asked a few times actually if she joins the XFAM website, will she get? Do you do one-on-ones? I think she needs your help.
Of course.
Mm.
Love the family and always open to everyone.
Mm.
Yeah. And I don't segregate anyone. So, if you're in a position that you can, just talk to us, send us an email. Um, we'll never limit you. And we just appreciate everybody who can support this because we are very much in the early beginning stages and we're just waiting for everything to be perfectly balanced in the background before it goes to the front and we start to, you could say, expand within a field of awareness within all these communities and truth communities to help beings on journeys find the simplest right path to the truth, the freedom, happiness.
Mm. I don't think we have skipped any direct questions at least. Through
Uh,
some good tips and things, but EST. So will the Mars plane become the new world, or will there still be a world on Earth when the time comes?
if you synchronize it with every type of information that's out there and available, even the old films where people were going to Mars, I think like the one with Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd, or something type of film
Mm.
like this. It's always been there. It's always as a part of this journey, but it's been implanted into the awareness of people through certain events that are happening and will be happening to create the separation of the meek, the virtuous, the kind, to be able to inhabit Earth and to be able to fix the earthly plane. Mars itself has no oxygen. I mean, what we have been shared. No water, and they have to create the artificial environment that one day people will be charged to breathe. So we are charged for water and homes, etc. Here. On one level, it's the very same. But on
Mm.
the next level, to advance, to be able to continue to breathe, you need to be doing some work. You need to be paying your way. If you wish to play, your artificial games and intelligence, etc., there'll be probably a universal income and people will work via this device and control machines that are starting to build up the world of Mars. And then they will exist only there through false
So,
artificial means.
sorry. Is it an energetic thing that they can't stay here? Or is it just also.
Yes and no. Because if you don't truly know innately within your being, like truly, and you do not give in to fear, and you have no fear of anything that's happening within the illusion world, you will stay put. But if 99.9% of a civilization is leaving, and this world will be too deadly, or something will happen that will cause a cataclysm, how much do you trust yourself? And that's energetic because all signatures are related to the consciousness that one holds.
So if you say 99.9%, we will be few and far
And
between.
yeah, the Georgia Guidestones, they speak of like 500,000, I think.
500
Is it 500 million?
500 million, I think. Yeah.
500 million. Okay. Oh,
I think. Yeah. 7 billion, 500 million. Yeah. Mm.
yeah. But there's a very few energetic beings that, are ready to not dominate, are ready to just do themselves, not try to involve others. You see, the very nature of community is having beings around you to be able to assist, not to be able to, you know, dominate or, You have your experience alongside the community, not on top of each other. This is why so many communities out there, people go with great expectations to communities thinking it's all going to be fun, and it's just a matter of time before they feel oppressed and like they don't have their space, and they don't have a say because there's always a hierarchy or something within that space. Now, if there was land where everyone had an acre, but yet the neighbors they had were similar and were there to experience their own lives, but also have a great, reliable energy community that will help in any way needed. Together, planting. If one planted a tree every day for a year, there's 365 trees. There's one tree a day. And if they all bear fruit, could you eat a tree a day? And then your life is done. Now, if you are a builder and you build your house, how many houses do you need to build now? It's done.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we working 50 years to still
Yeah.
not own to still not own our land and our house? The allodial title is kept from most people, but again, how can one ever own anything if it is held within inside a construct of a legal system? Nobody can own anything. It's the illusion of ownership which causes all this. This is all ego. Everything is everyone's. It's all temporary. We share. We respect.
We're getting there time-wise, brother.
Okay.
But it's been a good conversation. And I can't see any new questions.
So yeah, it's just small applications to the truth. Continually evolve yourself, continually increase your perception, your wisdom, continually improve your ability to be virtuous and surrender, let go of anger and resentment, and bring peace and harmony to all situations. This is the temperance of this moment. To be able to apply yourself and use diligence to take the necessary actions that you need to do to be in a certain situation to continue unfolding the truth. And you'll experience something so profound, something so healing, something which doesn't only impact your experience, it's the world's too, the earth, everything in it.
Yeah, I don't know if we got to the world and the earth. We have, okay, the whole conversation has been, of course. Did you feel that you?
No.
No.
No. But this is why, I could easily have created a couple of pointers, but I didn't. So if I created pointers, we could have really gone through what the earth has and what the world has, and cross-reference these for a bigger awareness. But basically, essentially, the world is lies, it's deception, it's sickness, it's disease, it's untruths, it's ego, it's dominating, it's force. And the earth itself is natural, it's healing, it's power, it's self, it's expansive, it has order, and the world is chaotic and full of chaos. Everything in between can be seen and searched. And as one goes on the journey of seeing and searching, take this very pointing with you. Don't stay fixated. Evolve beyond that concept and continue to walk through the fog, the mist, the mud, and let it stick to you. Surrender it. Continue to be free and to know that you are the greatest thing. You are the creator of all things. Don't limit yourself to these laws and be subject to them. You be kind. In your freedom, you are that which is true love. And true love is kind, is patient, has diligence, has temperance, has very much a great, great abstinence where it can abstain and not hold on to anything and obsess. It just is and surrendered. This is where the freedom lies. This is the Christ consciousness. This is the 5D transformation. It doesn't happen without the work. The work is you applying the truth and becoming wise to it and freeing yourself from concepts. There is no magic other than this wonderful experience of life. Don't search for something which is already here. Be with it in union and celebrate each moment. This is the greatest gift. This is life. Don't forget.
Joanne, Sister Joanne, had a good idea. Let's do part 2 next Thursday. So we don't have to worry about topic next week. We can just continue. Or
that's
do
a good
what
idea. Maybe we could. I'll write something down, but I've never done that. So
it's what it is. Will be what it.
I like
Supposed.
fluidity. I like fluidity.
Yeah, me too. Actually, maybe we'll just create a thumbnail that doesn't say anything other than
Fluid.
Fluidity.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, brother, for your time, for your wisdom. Very thankful.
Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I hope that I was able to point in maybe some areas that could lead you to freedom. I love you all very much.
See you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes.